Welcome back. Quiz number 17, practice exam number 17 as we move forward. 5 questions to help you out passing your Network Plus exam. Let's see if I can't stump you this week. Let's see if we can't do a better job. Yeah, let's get right into it. A network administrator troubleshooting an issue with the DNS resolution. The administrator checks the SOA. What is an SOA? Record for the domain example.com. Which of the following is the primary function of the SOA record in this DNS configuration? What do we think? What do we think? I know it's a little bit of an acronym twister up in there if you're not familiar. What is an SOA and what is its primary function? What's its primary function? Do you remember? Do you think about it? Remember, as we're going through these quiz exams, as we're going through it, remember to keep your answers. We want to try to do it within 30 to 45 seconds. We really don't want to go over that. You don't have a lot of time on the Network Plus exam, and so we want to streamline it as quick as possible. If you can't get it right away, if you don't know, don't spend a lot of time dwelling on it. You need to answer it and move on. You can always flag it. You can always flag it. Always guess. Always put something, because at the end, if you run out of time and you don't answer anything, you have a 0% chance of getting it right. Right? If you guess and you have absolutely no idea, you still have a 1 in 4 chance. You still have a 25% chance. If you can remove at least one answer, and you know it's one answer is gone, we have a 33% chance. And of course, we get rid of 2, but that's 50%. Let's answer this one, shall we? Shall we move on? If you need more time, of course, you can pause that video. Network administrator troubleshooting an issue with the DNS resolution. The administrator checks the SOA record for the domain example.com. Which of the following is the primary function of the SOA record in this DNS configuration? Well, if we know what SOA means, then we know it's the start of authority record. It specifies the primary authority, or I should say the authoritative DNS server for the domain, including important zones, information such as refresh rate, retry rate, and expiration times. That's what the SOA does. Did that give you a hint? Does that help you out a little bit? Do you think maybe you've got it a little bit different? Shall we? I feel like I've already answered it for you. I feel like I did that for you. But let's kind of go through it. D specifies the network mask for subnetting the domain. No, that would be the CIDR. That would be the CIDR. C defines the IP addresses for the DNS servers for resolving the domain. Well, that would be a name service record. An address record might do it as well. Not the same thing as a SOA, right? B specifies the mail server responsible for handling the email domain. This is more a function of the MX, the mail exchange, right? That means that A kind of gave it away in our explanation of what an SOA is. It is A. It's A. Defines the authoritative DNS server for the domain. That's what it's going to be right there. Boom. Question number 2. A user reports slow internet speeds over DSL connection. Which of the following is the most likely cause of the slow connection? Which is the most likely the cause of the slow connection? What do you think? What do you think on this one? We have to know those pesky little acronyms as we go through, don't we? Don't we? What do you think? I feel like this is somewhat of an easy one if you know what it is. I feel like if you have no idea, then you're lost. And you're probably like, I have no clue. You're probably looking at that little link that I provided you and going, I think it might be this. I think it might be this. You have it? Are we ready to move on? I think we're ready to move on. If you need more time, you can always pause the video. A user reports slow internet speeds over a DSL connection. Which of the following is the most likely cause of the slow connection? We have this little stat block here. We see the DSL is connected. Download speeds at 3 megabytes per second. Is that good? Is that bad? What do you think? Upstream or upload speeds at 512 kilobits per second. That's about half a megabyte. Oh, that's pretty slow in my book. Our SNR margin. Do you remember what SNR stands for? Signal to noise ratio at 6 decibels, at 6 dB. And then our attenuation at 55 dB. Well, we have everything that we need to know in order to pass this, right? So let's break it down. Let's start with A. High SNR margin, high signal to noise ratio. Is that high? Is 6 dB high? I'm going to put this on the maybe, on the possible. B, low upstream or low upload speeds. For DSL, it's actually pretty normal. 512 kilobits is actually pretty good for DSL. And so it's not going to be that. High attenuation is 55 dB high. I don't know. Maybe that's another possibility. Low downstream or low download speeds at 3 megabytes. Well, for DSL, that's actually pretty normal. So that means it's got to be either A or C. Either A or C. Well, if you guessed A, you'd be incorrect. It's definitely C. So high signal to noise ratio. Well, this actually is a good signal. This is not a cause for concern. That 6 dB, that's actually pretty good. However, that attenuation of 55 dB, this indicates signal loss. It indicates a very low signal strength, which is going to give us, among other things, it's going to give us some errors. Definitely poor quality. Definitely something that we don't want. And so that's going to be our answer. Answer is going to be C. C is going to be our answer. There we go. All right. Question number 3. A network administrator analyzes traffic logs from a firewall and notices unusual activity on port 3389. Do you remember what port 3389 services? Do you remember that one? From an external IP address, which of the following services is being targeted in this traffic log? We really don't need to read the traffic log. If we know what port or what protocol operates on 3389, then we're good to go. If we don't remember, then we're probably suffering. This is indicative of the way CompTIA does their questions. They never ask you point blank, what's port 3389? What's the well-known port or protocol operating on 3389? They don't do it that way. They give you this roundabout way of asking the same question. And so this is pretty typical of a CompTIA question. I feel like this one's actually pretty easy if you know your ports and protocols. I really do. All right, let's just answer this one because I feel like this one's really easy. Pause the video if you need more time. FTP, well, no. FTP is on port 20 and 21, right? So definitely not going to be FTP. SSH, well, that one's on port 22. HTTPS, that's on 443. HTTP is on port 80. RDP, Remote Desktop Protocol, port 3389. That's going to be our answer. Answer is going to be C. Pretty easy one as long as you know those ports and protocols. I like to throw those in there because a lot of times students don't realize you really need to know those. You really do. Okay? All right, question number 4. A company is implementing EAP for secure wireless authentication. The network team has deployed EAP TLS to authenticate users. Which of the following is required for this authentication method to work? Which of the following is required for this authentication method to work? What do we think? If you know what EAP TLS, it's interesting. I just taught a course on this last night. We literally just went over this. If you're from my course, throw me a note in there. Give me a thumbs up on this one. I would appreciate it. Do you know the answer based on what we talked about last night? Maybe you do. Maybe you don't. I don't know. We'll see. What do you think? What is EAP TLS, and what do we require for that? What do we require for authentication for EAP TLS? Of course, if you remember what EAP stands for, we're going to tell you in a minute. What EAP stands for. But knowing the acronym in this case is not going to answer the question for you. It's really not. You kind of have to know what EAP TLS is in order to understand or in order to answer this question. And so we went over this. All right, let's answer this one. If you need more time, of course, you can pause that video. Let's start with a shared secret key between the client and the server. No, EAP TLS does not use a shared secret. It relies on certificates. And so definitely not going to be A. B, username and password authentication. I like username and password authentication, but again, EAP TLS uses certificates, and I probably gave the answer away. Probably did. That leaves it between C and D. Well, D is a one-time password token, not used in EAP TLS. It's used in EAP TOTP or EAP OTP, right, which would be that one-time password. That leaves our answer as C. Username on authentication, EAP TLS uses certificates, not username and passwords for authentication, and it's mutual authentication. Mutual, meaning we authenticate both the client and the server. We authenticate both sides of the house. That means our answer is going to be C. Fairly easy if you know. Of course, people are probably like, well, no, I didn't know. Well, if you don't know, you don't know. It is what it is, right? Let's move on. Question number 5. Last question for today. Last one. A network technician is troubleshooting a network issue where users on the far end of a long cable run are experiencing slow network speeds and intermittent connectivity. Which of the following is most likely causing the issue? What is most likely causing the issue? I know I didn't do a matching question this week. I didn't do a fill in the blank question. I'm a horrible person. I ran out of time, and I felt like our videos were exceeding our time limit. I really did. I was trying to get them down to about 10 minutes. And I feel like we were hitting it. Maybe next week. Maybe next week I'll do another PBQ. This week you get off early. You get off, all right, I shouldn't say early. Easy and early. You get both. Let's answer this one, shall we? A network technician is troubleshooting a network issue where users on the far end of the long cable run are experiencing slow network speeds and intermittent connectivity. Which of the following is most likely causing this? And we can see that we've got a cable length of 110 meters. Signal loss of 25 dB, and cable type of Cat E UTP. What is that Cat E UTP? Do you remember? Do you remember what that is? All right, let's start with A. Let's start with A. Incorrect cable type. No. Cat 5e can cover 110. It's not bad, right? And it'll cover up to speeds up to 1 gigabytes. So cable is not an issue. Not an issue. Excessive attenuation. Maybe do we see an attenuation issue with this one? Maybe. Let's put this one on the side. What do you think about this one? Maybe. High crosstalk. Well, crosstalk could cause interference, but we're seeing some other issues. For those who don't remember crosstalk, that's where we have the cable and it's not properly shielded properly, and because it's not properly shielded, we can actually hear both lines of it. In data, we can actually see some errors. So it is a possibility. Low signal to noise ratio at 25 dB. Maybe, right? Does it provide an issue? Let's look at our question again, right? A network technician is troubleshooting a network issue where users on the far end of the long cable run are experiencing slow network speeds and intermittent connectivity. Which is following is most likely the issue? If we look at the SNR, right? If we look at the SNR, then we see that we're experiencing slow network speeds and intermittent connectivity. SNR wouldn't technically provide that intermittent connectivity. And it wouldn't definitely do the slow network speeds, right? We would see that kind of an issue with either attenuation or crosstalk, specifically with one of them. And yes, I'm being vague. I'm being vague on purpose. I want you to take a guess. I want you to guess. Is it B or is it C? Is it B or C? I probably gave the answer away already. But if you remember, it's B. It's B. Why is it B? Why is it B? Well, our Cat 5e cable can go up to 100 meters, right? And we're at 110 meters. And so that is our first clue. That's our first clue, right? Our second clue is that signal loss, right? And so when we have an extendedly long cable run, we have indicative of attenuation. Because of the cable length, our signal to noise ratio went up, our signal loss went up, and our cable type is a problem, right? And so it kind of points to that direction. It kind of points to attenuation based on all three of the metrics put together. You really don't need to know Cat 5 UTP, but you do need to know the signal loss, and then the cable length is 100 meters. And this is part of Network Plus, right? And so remember, nothing's at 110 meters. Nothing. There's no specific type. That is usually 100 meters is probably our max. And so our answer, of course, is going to be excessive attenuation. I hope I explained that well. I hope I did. All right, that's it for today. We'll see you next time. I'm Dr. K.